You listen to the rest. Now it's time to listen to the best. Real Talk Sports, where these pro sport analysts do more than get in front of the throws. They never miss a catch or a call. No matter the sport, they always have the right call. Not just entertaining, it's the true sports fans forecasting guy. Feel free when you cash in or let it ride. With Real Talk Sports by your side, that is. Just to keep the ball bouncing even more, it's two-way talk with live question and review. So be sure to listen in on the new WIGO.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister, Jonathan Simmons. And we are so happy to be here with you again. And big shout-outs to the Spiritual Soldier. Big shout-outs to Alex. I think it was 2010. I couldn't get the whole thing before I went off, but shout-outs to everybody there. Please pass the word. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Twitter. We are one of the only radio shows in the world that gives you the live feed onto the Periscope broadcast. And not only do we have the live feed, but we let you call in the show. Call-in number is 404-361-1571, and that's right, your phone call will be live on Periscope. You also can check us out online at wigoam.com. You also can follow us and listen on the TuneIn radio application. Put in WIGO in the search engine on TuneIn, or better yet, put in Real Talk Sports, and voila. You'll find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. And then follow us anywhere on social media at Talk Sports ATL. Well, big news on the weekend here. Of course, I have right next to me the young gun, Mr. Ashton Reynolds, in the building.
Glad to be here once again.
And I know you got some good news, and we'll be talking to Ashton in the last part of our broadcast. You know, we always do the community spotlight segment, and so we're going to let Ashton talk to us about what Blessed Coast Communications, his group, is doing. Also, we'll have an interview from an event I covered on the weekend. It was the Atlanta Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh, man.
And we got a chance to see the induction of 5 Atlanta sports legends, including 20-year future Hall of Famer Chipper Jones of our Atlanta Braves, and another guy who played. Now, you ought to appreciate this. Kevin Willis, I didn't realize this, played for 23 years in the NBA. His final game was at age 44.
Oh, man.
So, young gun, you got some hope. You might be able to jump back out there, bro.
I know, right?
Right. I mean, the guy played till he's 44. Yeah, unbelievable what he did. And, of course, he played with the Hawks for half of his career. And he now is part of that wonderful group of Hawk alumni that we see at the Hawk game. So we appreciate him. And also another legend was a guy that won a state championship, was 16-0 back in 1965 for Decatur High School. Clarence Scott later went on to play all of his NFL career, 13 years with the Cleveland Browns. So we're actually going to have a little bit of his interview at the end of the segment. Well, we want to start off with some breaking news. And as always, you know, here's the thing that gets me, Ashton. When I look at these things, I always talk about, and I tell people, it's all about timing.
Right.
You know, it's all about timing. Well, finally, which I knew, I told people, hey, man, something was fishy about this whole Ray Rice situation. Again, before I talk about the Ray Rice situation, I don't want in any way belittle or in any way lighten domestic abuse. We do a show on Wednesday, a ministry show, and my good partner has experienced that, so it's a terrible thing, and so I don't want to in any way, you know, make light of it or somehow say that Ray Rice was not culpable, because anybody who watched that film saw that, you know, he really, you know, basically knocked his wife out and then dragged her into the elevator.
Right.
However, a lot of that documentation was actually found by unknown sources. Well, it's actually been released at TMZ. The reason why they got it is because they paid a staggering $100,000 and show me the money.
Right.
And actually a private security guard with the hotel released that information to them, and that's how they got their documentation. And even though, you know, Ray Rice's wife basically pleaded for him to, you know, get back in the NFL, at that time nobody was interested. But now, of course, it's been leaked out that, you know, this was actually some information that was bought. And also now Ray Rice has admittedly, you know, done some rehab. The guy spent 2-3 years away from the league. The league obviously punished him. He also, I think, did some time. So at the end of the day, it looks like Ray Rice might be able to finally reenter the NFL. And again, his wife has been pleading for this because, you know, that's, you know, at least up to this point, their only income. So, you know, when you go from making a couple $1 million a year to zero,
right,
and, you know, all your endorsements are cut off, I mean, certainly, that situation there. But as some women have told me, you don't know why she's saying that. Maybe she's concerned about, her child. Maybe she's concerned about she might be able to take care of herself. So there's a lot going to this. But at the end of the day, at least we now know that what we thought, the TMZ paid a hellacious amount of money to actually get that footage. And sadly, speaking continually of abuse and so forth, it does appear that the sheriff, Peyton Manning, has been involved in a massive 20-some-odd year cover-up. It's just it's a terrible thing here. And again, we have people shouting us out on Periscope saying, "Yeah, you got to keep your hands to yourself." I mean, really, that's one thing I will tell guys. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I really don't care what happens. We were raised that if a woman hits you, your options are always to leave the house or you call the police.
Right.
I mean, basically, I understand that they had some beef. She slapped him or swung at him. But at the end of the day, you just have to call the police because as a man, especially a football player, with the strength that you have in anger, you could really hurt, and which he did, hurt the wife very badly. And like you said, in that particular occasion, knocked her out. Well, now, like you said, it does appear that Peyton Manning hasn't been involved. Now, again, we're going back 20 years. But unfortunately, this was a situation that was initially covered up by the University of Tennessee. And then later, Peyton and his dad, when they wrote a book, kind of threw some shots at this lady. And the lady made a countersuit. But basically, it's been documented here that there are allegations of a sexual assault scandal, cover-up, and smear campaign of the victim that was so deep, so widespread, and so ugly that it would have rocked the American sports world had it come out at that time. And it said, interestingly enough, that USA Today actually had the documents but never released them.
Wow.
They actually sat on the documents. Yep, been sitting right there. And the clarification here, and I'm reading an article by a gentleman by the name of Sean King, which I'll talk to you a little bit about him in just a second, for the New York Daily News. And he said, first of all, to clarify this, that this woman that was involved in this was not just some girl. She actually, her name is Dr. Jamie Naughtright, and she was an esteemed professional, widely admired by the students and peers alike at the University of Tennessee, where she was the director of health and wellness for the men's athletic program. Originally, she was from New Jersey, and then made her transition to her home there. And allegedly, what happened is that Peyton had gotten injured, and she went to actually check up on his injury. And during the examination, allegedly, Peyton actually, removed his pants and then, rubbed himself on top of the lady's head. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this was kind of a real crazy situation, and it was never, ever released by USA Today. And, of course, why is that? Because by the time this information really got out to light, Peyton Manning was a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Right.
Okay, he was an All-American and on a quest to win a national championship. And, of course, he was son of a legendary player, Archie Manning. So it does appear that this guy got a free pass on this situation. Bad news for Peyton Manning. Now, for me, I think another reason why this is released where it is now is because of the fact that Peyton Manning actually was in a situation that he, like I said, I think the NFL doesn't want him to play. So here's what I'm going to do. Listen, for anybody who's trying to call in on the show, call-in number is 404-361-1571. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show as we broadcast to you live right here on Atlanta's Incredible Radio, WIGO 1570. And because here's what I'm saying. Why would these allegations be sat on for all these years and now released after the Super Bowl, where Peyton Manning just was going to apparently ride off into the sunset? But there have been some rumblings that Magic Johnson and the group that are trying to bringing the St. Louis Rams to L.A. were going to attempt to get Peyton Manning to go out of retirement and be quarterback for the L.A. Rams.
Wow. Well, I believe the reason why the allegations are coming up now is due to how the public perceives Peyton, because within the NFL, he's the standard of excellence. He's always been the standard of excellence, the prototype quarterback. He's the face of many companies, and he seems he's built up on a pedestal to where he can do no wrong. And for somebody to come out with allegations of saying that Peyton Manning has done something as serious as a sexual assault on somebody of such prestige, that's a tamper on his legacy.
Right.
Just to show you that he is human and he does make mistakes. Like, Peyton can do wrong. Just like when the HGH allegations came up, the performance enhancer to help him recover from his injury. But many people didn't believe in it due to the fact that how he has went on and how he's being portrayed within the NFL, and the fact that he is the NFL's poster child. And Peyton Manning, to ride off to the sunset, winning the Super Bowl to do something that no other quarterback has done, which is he's constantly making history. And to have that, it just shows that he is human. And those allegations, if they are true, that's something that Peyton Manning, he has to deal with on his own, because that's something that he has done. That's a mistake that he has made, and he got to own up to it.
Well, listen, if you want to call in, if you feel that Peyton Manning is either A, being unjustly persecuted now, or B, be in a situation where, he has been glossed over and hidden by the media, let me know, do you feel there's even some racial background behind it? Because, again, this is a guy that because here's the thing. Let's just be real and honest. I mean, I tell people I try to be as racially neutral as possible, but in your mind, you got to say to yourself, I wonder what would have happened had this been the allegations against Cam Newton.
Or Michael Vick or something like that.
Or Michael Vick.
Because a lot of allegations have been looked over. The Ben Roethlisberger, it was in the news for 1 week, and then 2 or 3 weeks later it was gone. You had to talk about it anymore. Yet the allegations with what Michael Vick did, it was all over the news for a long time, and he's still being scrutinized for the mistakes that he has done. And just like Ray Rice, he paid his dues to society, and he went through all of the proper treatment. He did all of the things, said the right things, and yet they're still looking down on him. And here comes some dirt on Peyton Manning, which was hidden for 20 years, and it was known about by even his family.
And the USA Today. Okay, we're not talking about the backorder news. We're talking about the USA Today,
right,
a major news organization. Now, here's where this whole thing, I think, over time now is going to start to get complex. The guy that wrote this article, Sean King, I don't know him well, but I've actually met this young man because he actually is a Morehouse alum. We've had some conversation. He himself is a preacher. He's also an activist. He's also been involved with Black Lives Matters at the forefront. And here's what gets a little dicey. He ran into the same problem that the young lady from out on the West Coast had, that some people are claiming that he's actually not black.
Wow.
So he himself has been involved over the last year with a huge controversy. So I think this thing could go way off to the left in a hurry. But the bottom line is the facts show. These are documented. This is not just a young man hurling charges. This is all documented. He has court records. But at the end of the day, this thing I think is going to go way off to the left. And I would not be shocked if the NFL is kind of saying, bro, we need you to go ahead and sit down and retire. Peyton said, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to go ahead and get involved with L.A. And they're like, dude, you're going to get shut down. Now, a lot of people say, dude, that's scandalous. But because here's why I'm saying this. Why would this information come out now? Why now? Why after the Super Bowl? Why after rumors him coming out that he's not going to retire? And again, like you pointed out, back-to-back on a situation where he was involved in allegations of using HGH, running it through his wife, the same thing. Because remember, now it's been established this guy could be a liar. So all the stuff he's saying, but this is my wife's medication, all that's not going to be thrown into question. All of it.
Right. I think this is a way, like I said, Peyton Manning's legacy, he's been squeaky clean for the most part, and all of this stuff coming about, honestly, it's shocking to me because I've always viewed Peyton Manning from the standpoint of him being the standard of excellence within the NFL, but at the same time, he's human. He makes mistakes, and his mistakes seems to be detrimental to his status within the NFL and within the public eye. And it's just still shocking to me that USA Today hid this information for over 20 years. That information was hidden for almost as long as I've been on this earth. And that's crazy.
Well, it just shows you what happens. And speaking of information that's floating around out here, number one, someone just mentioned on Periscope, what comes out in the dark, what's done in the dark always comes out in the light. And speaking of that, now there are some allegations running around, I guess have been for the last couple of years, but now starting to pick up steam. J.J. Watt, Mr. All-Everything, All-MVP, rumbling around that he himself might be using steroids or HGH. And he has come out and said, I want the NFL to test me. He said, I want them to test me. He said, because I've not used them, never used them. So he himself is in some trouble. And speaking of HGH, the very first player in baseball history to be banned for life, Mets reliever Jean-Marie Mejia, I think this is, became the first Major League Baseball player to be banned for life for steroid use. Here's the situation. The guy was caught 3 times in 1 year.
Wow. Yeah, he deserved to be banned. And you know the MLB is one league that has definitely been trying to crack down on it due to the long list of accusations that have been made from the Alex Rodriguez to Roger Clemens and Mark McGwire. The list goes on, all of the greatest players. because some of them used it to heal faster. Some of them used it for performance enhancement. But at the end of the day, they get caught with it. And as for J.J. Watt, J.J. Watt is an athlete that has stood for hard work and dedication for the longest. I mean, I've seen the guy play with broken noses and still go out there and still dominate the game. For him to be it's obvious when you're at the top of the game, they're going to question you. They're going to question whether it's some extracurricular going on within your workout regimen. But that's shocking if J.J. Watt was on steroids or not. But like you say, let the NFL test him. You never know.
He says bring it on. The last two pieces of news, Phil Mickelson and the guys that come on behind. If you want to continue to listen to sports, keep it locked right here. We have another sports show that comes on called DNA Sports Talk. They're actually on for 2 hours from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., and they talk about everything, every type of sports. I'm sure they're going to be talking about these last two articles here. Number one, Phil Mickelson, a guy that has not won in a while, came up short. Once again, apparently could not hit the short putt, missed a 5-footer that would have sent it into a I don't want to say extra innings, that's baseball, excuse me, but would have sent them into a playoff, but unfortunately missed a 5-foot putt and ended up losing to young Mr. Taylor. And speaking of young, Chase Elliott, the son of legendary NASCAR driver Bill Elliott, became the youngest person to win the pole at Daytona 500, a place where his dad won the pole 4 times. So the legacy goes on, just like Dale Jr. carrying on after his dad. Chase Elliott, son of the legendary driver Bill Elliott, a guy that actually was for a while sponsored by right here at in the Metro Atlanta area by Allen Vigil Ford. Matter of fact, you used to be able to see a part of his car actually hanging up in Allen Vigil Ford's location. Well, listen, folks, so we're going to take a quick break, but we're going to come back with more great sports talk. The next segment, we're talking about All-Star Game, the Hawks, and we got our special guest. But you won't hear unless you stay tuned.
It's official. The hottest new restaurant and sports grill on the South Side is open for business. Check out the Burger Theory Restaurant, 638 Highway 138, Stockbridge, Georgia, inside the Holiday Inn and Suites. All new. It's got great appetizers, delicious desserts, and mouth-watering signature burgers made for your order. Grab some takeout on the way home or enjoy the beautiful lounge and dining area lined with flat-screen TVs. It's the Burger Theory Restaurant, 638 Highway 138, inside the Holiday Inn, Stockbridge, Georgia.
Attention promoters, event organizers, and committees. If you're looking for a place to have your next big event, you must check out the C Room Multiplex. The C Room Multiplex cordially invites you to book your next artist or to host your next big event at the C Room, specializing in the following areas: CD release parties, showcases, fashion shows, movie premieres, birthday celebrations, wedding receptions, banquets, pastors' anniversaries, special events, and more. At the C Room Multiplex, we also offer catering and decorating packages. For more information, call us 678-823-5124. That's 678-823-5124. Or visit us on the web at croomatlanta.com. That's c-roomatlanta.com. The C Room is Atlanta's premier Christian entertainment venue. The C Room, 4013A Jonesboro Road, Forest Park, Georgia. Mention this ad for special pricing.
And this is what the crowd's been waiting for.
All right, this is going to be a good final. These two guys can do it.
This is much like a heavyweight championship, and they are trading big, heavy punches.
From high above the rim, and the perfect score of 50.
That's a 50. That's a 50.
There he goes.
Give him a 50.
So Levine now has been challenged. Ricky lobs it, he goes to get it, and spins, and he pats him in the right hand.
I got to do the windmill. I got to do the windmill.
Ooh, they were impressed enough to give him a 50.
It's over, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go home.
That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my career.
I think he's going to try to jump for the free throw line. This guy can fly. That's Dominique like.
That was Dominic Wilkins.
That was Dominique like. I've never seen two guys electrify the building. Dominique and Mike.
Here's Levine leading from midcourt. Here he comes. Going to take off.
That brought Dominique to his feet. Well, the crowd lets you know what they think of it. Now we will wait for the judges.
That'll do it. The bench comes unglued. The towels are being thrown on the floor. I think the defending champion has backed it up.
They gave him a 50. He defends his championship.
We did some crazy stuff, man. It came down to it, man. This is ridiculous.
We've never seen anything like that.
And that was the sound last night of the All-Star game. I should say on Saturday, that was the All-Star game dunk contest. And for those of you who are old school like me, were alive in 1988 to see what up until last night had been the greatest dunk contest of all time, as Michael Jordan, in the peak of his prime, squared off against the guy who Phillips Arena is named after, the human highlight film. Dominique Wilkins and those two guys had one for the ages, with Michael Jordan finally winning out to retain his dunk championship. And the other night was no different, as the two young men from the Orlando Magic and where's the other gentleman from the Timberwolves showed down in a legendary showdown. And so that's the question. Do you think that's one of the best dunk contests you've ever seen? What do you think, best All-Star weekend?
Oh, that was definitely one of the best dunk contests I've seen. I mean, Aaron Gordon, he pulled out some dunks that I didn't even think a big man could do, especially jumping over the mascot just to grab the ball under his legs. I mean, that was unbelievable right there.
Well, I tell you, I got a young lady here, and for those of you watching on Periscope, I don't know if you can see here, I've got her picture up there. I know it's far away here, but she covers the Hawks for Sytonnia Live and SportsWire magazine. You always can find her and I doing a little halftime and post-game wrap-up on Instagram. Talking about the lovely Miss Sytonnia Moore is now on the line. Sytonnia, what's cooking?
Hi, Jonathan. How are you? Hey, guys.
Good. How are you? Well, did you get a chance to watch the game?
Huh?
Did you get a chance to watch the All-Star weekend?
I sure did. I checked out. Now, I'm not even going to lie. The game became a little bit boring after a while.
Yes, it did.
But I definitely watched the three-point contest, which was good, to see Klay Thompson and Steph Curry going at it. I mean, they're just so extraordinary, just talent, which Steph went on to prove even further with that half-court shot to end the All-Star game.
Crazy.
So that was pretty interesting. Definitely saw that. And as you guys were talking about, the slam dunk contest was incredible. I'm going to go ahead and put it on out there. Gordon was robbed. Some of his dunks were just incredible and took such athletic ability with the use of Steph, the mascot for the Orlando Magic. I was just really impressed, especially with that one dunk that he went into the pike position. All of my cheerleaders out there know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
It's not an easy jump.
Right.
So for him to do it going over someone and dunk, it was pretty impressive. So had fun watching that. And then, of course, really enjoyed the Kobe Bryant tribute. So it was nice to see him there. And, he received the most votes out of anybody who, participated in the All-Star game. So it just goes to show how much people love him and how much he will be missed when he retires at the end of the season.
And really incredible. You're talking about a guy over his lifetime of 18 All-Star games, a guy that was able to garner over 30 million votes, which is just stunning. 30 million votes that this guy racked up. So, I mean, it's just unbelievable, how this guy really has had a career. And now the question comes back, and this question has come up before. Of course, usually it's the younger guys talking about this versus the old school guys like me. But now the question comes up again, looking at Kobe's record, 20 years, 18 All-Star games, 5 championships, 4 MVPs in the All-Star game, 2 regular season MVPs, and I believe 2 more MVPs in the finals. The question now is, and considering he played in a different era where you could play a zone and not just man-to-man, where you could do a lot more things to defend the kind of one-on-one player, is Kobe now, should he be considered in the same breath as Michael, or maybe even a step ahead of him?
Oh, good question.
Uh-oh. Now it starts to get in the nitty-gritty.
I'm going to go ahead and say yes, because you just have to give him credit where credit is due, and then you have to remember that he started his NBA career a little bit earlier than Michael Jordan, so that speaks volumes in itself. And if you compare stats, I believe that Jordan is the only one that's surpassed him, so he's right there neck and neck. So why not give him, that honor of being, in that company with Michael Jordan? I think so.
Well, I tell you, I think a lot of people might want to comment in. Listen, folks, phone lines are open, 404-361-1571. If the line is busy, you also can find us on 404-361-1570. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, Mr. Jonathan Simmons. I have the young gun here, Ashton Reynolds, and I have the lovely Miss Sytonnia Moore from Sytonnia Live and SportsWire Magazine on the phone as well. Listen, you also can check us out online to listen at wigoam.com. You can find us also at 1100entertainmentradio.com, one of our new broadcast partners. And, of course, on any mobile device, use the free TuneIn Radio application. Put in WIGO 1570 in the search engine, or better yet, put in Real Talk Sports, and voila, you will find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. Well, we both cover the Hawks. Let me just say one thing before I get to the Hawks. Okay, there's been a little shade on social media kind of being a little critical towards Dikembe Mutombo and Shaq, saying they had a little hateration towards the young man from Orlando, giving him a 9 when this guy was doing stuff that nobody even thought about doing. So what do you think? You think they were kind of hating on the young man, or just looking for perfection?
Gosh, that's another tough one too, because I felt like there were certain dunks that Zach did that weren't worthy of a score of a 50. But at the same time, the dunks that Shaq did score him with a 9, he claimed that, okay, you got to make it on the first try. You got to make it on the first try. But when you look at what they're trying to do, it's like, come on, like you can kind of scoot the first try out of the way and just, okay, if he completes this dunk and makes it look fantastic, it's 50 worthy. But I would say they were a bit critical, a little bit harsh. But then again, at the same time, it could evolve in part of the plan to make sure that Zach, had a repeat in his dunk championship reign. So,
little conspiracy talk.
Possible.
Little conspiracy talk. Well, listen, this. Let's face it. I mean, we know, as much as I'd like to sit here as a guy who covers sports all the time, and Ashton played here at Forest Park, was a great high school star here. And Sytonnia, you've been covering it for a while. I mean, but at the end of the day, we know that professional sports now is starting to more and more resemble WWE or reality TV, where these guys kind of set up these scripting on who's going to be the hero, who's going to be the villain. And, it's done that way to pique fan interest, and also it's done that way to keep the bettors in line.
Absolutely.
So,
and you have to look at everything, because, speaking of their scoring, you guys remember the one dunk that Gordon did, and then Zach, the very next dunk, he did the exact same dunk.
Right.
Not as much flair, but they still gave him a 50. So I think, I was looking for originality in that particular dunk, but still it does make you question, okay, how exactly did they want this to play out? I think it definitely set the tone for a serious rematch next year, All-Star Weekend in Charlotte. So we're all definitely going to be looking for Gordon to come back, as well as Zach, and it should be fun. I think they accomplished what they set out to do.
Right. Because, Aaron Gordon, he was unbelievable. Those dunks that he did, and I agree with you on that. Zach LaVine, some of those dunks, they weren't impressive, especially when he duplicated it. But I believe, the reason why Shaq gave him some 9s due to the misses is because he's seen Vince Carter in 2001 just off the rip do some of the most amazing dunks that I've ever seen. You've seen Jason Richardson do some of the most amazing dunks that I've ever seen. And he's seen those guys nail it on the first try so many times, and Josh Smith and all of those guys do some of the most difficult dunks on the first try, to the point where, okay, when you're doing those dunks in the previous rounds, that's his standard right there. Those dunk champions that are, dethroned previous dunk champions like Kobe and Vince Carter, those guys set the standard. And honestly, with the dunk contest, I was getting bored with it after a while, until Aaron Gordon had opened my eyes with it. So,
oh yeah, absolutely, I agree with you there, man. And when he had the one dunk where Steph was rotating on the hoverboard,
right,
and it had to be timed perfectly for him to get the ball, and it was just amazing. And I don't know. I just feel like Gordon should have won, definitely. But
I agree.
We'll be watching next year to see what happens.
Well, I think the big problem was they really had no way to give them bonus points. That was really the problem, because really, if you take Gordon's dunks off the table for a second and just isolate it on Zach LaVine's dunks, his dunks were all 10 with. I mean, this guy was doing stuff that was crazy too. You know, jumping from just inside the foul line and going between your legs.
Right.
Okay. So I mean, it wasn't like this. But the problem is that Gordon's dunks were so imaginative, so just groundbreaking. Especially when you're talking about, like Sytonnia just said, a hoverboard spinning. Well, listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back for more NBA talk a little bit more about the All-Star game, and then trade rumors abound. What should the Hawks do? You listen to the Real Talk Sports Show. Keep it locked right here for more.
We call on the name of Jesus Christ. Son Edward in your ear on WIGO AM 1570, Atlanta's incredible radio. Son plays anointed gospel music and interviews the biggest gospel artists in the country. Son Edward in your ear discusses local and national news from a godly perspective. Son Edward in your ear. Tune in every Sunday at 9 a.m. on WIGO AM 1570, Atlanta's incredible radio. Son Edward in your ear.
Let's get ready to rumble with 100 yards of football, the hottest sports talk radio show, live from the ATL every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. with Vincent Turner and his impeccable sports talk crew. That's right. Join your host, Vincent Turner, and his impeccable sports talk crew every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. for hot sports topics and more right here on Atlanta's incredible radio, WIGO 1570 AM.
Taylor, New York Giants, and you with Real Talk Sports.
People get that little.
Right. Let's do it a soul train.
And we are back. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show as we broadcast to you right here on Atlanta's incredible radio, WIGO 1570. We also are broadcasting online with our new online partner, 1100entertainmentradio.com. You also can find us on WIGOAM.com and on any mobile device. Use the free TuneIn radio application. Put in WIGO 1570 or put in Real Talk Sports, and voila, you will find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. And for those of you who have Periscope, we are broadcasting right now live on Periscope. You can find the link on Twitter at TalkSportsATL, or you can just go right to the Periscope and find Real Talk Sports with Minister Jonathan Simmons, and bang, we're there. Shout out to the Spiritual Soldiers. Shout out to East Atlanta Saints, a great youth group doing some great stuff in terms of football, basketball, cheerleading. East Atlanta Saints, you can follow them on Facebook to find out more information about them, also on Instagram and Twitter. And we had the chance to go out there and cover them last week. Matter of fact, those of you who listen to the program, you notice I had a couple of interviews from the main speaker and some of the kids. And we'll be doing more of that. You'll see the video up on our website by the end of the week. So, again, check them out. East Atlanta Saints. It's East ATL Saints on Instagram and Twitter. Well, we also still have on the line Sytonnia as we finish up our segment here about the NBA. Like we said, I think a lot of this stuff is scripted that goes on here now. So I'm not quite sure. Speaking of scripted, what should be the script for our Atlanta Hawks here as we approach the deadline? All kinds of rumors and rumblings around about Al Horford leaving, about Jeff Teague leaving. What say you, Ms. Sytonnia? What should be the Hawks' move right now?
Oh, my gosh. I said this weeks ago, and I'll say it again. Like, I just don't think they should get rid of either one of them. But Teague and Horford are at the center of all the trade talks concerning the Atlanta Hawks, and the deadline is approaching fast. It's coming up on, the 18th?
18th,
so, yep. They've got some decisions that they need to make, and I'm hearing that, a serious talk with Dwight Howard is going down, and Blake Griffin's name was even thrown in the mix. Some people are saying, talks about Danny Green possibly coming here is ridiculous. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised by anything really. But I personally think that the Hawks need to keep what they have in place. And even if you say, okay, well, do we want to add some size? If they'd be beef up Tavares, I think you'll see a lot more impact down low in the near future. And we're number 4 in the East, so, we're coming off of, 8 consecutive appearances in the playoffs. So I really don't think there's much adjustment that needs to be made. But, of course, anything is worth having the conversation about. But there are some factors that will come into play, like when you talk about Horford, he will be a free agent this summer. So things could change. He could decide that he wants to go somewhere else. But you also have to factor in his age. Will he be any more, effective for the Hawks right now than he will be, say, 4 or 5 years from now? When you look at someone like Kobe Bryant, who's retiring at, age 37?
Right.
Al Horford is 30, so how much more can we get out of him? But by all accounts, he seems to be very healthy. So there are a lot of things that you have to consider, but I think trading Teague and trading Horford would be 2 of the biggest mistakes that the Hawks could make.
Well, here's one of the hottest rumors now. I shouldn't say the hottest. Here's the latest rumor that's come up now, a 3-way trade with the Houston Rockets, the Miami Heat, and Atlanta. And here's what they're saying here on the Buzzline and Twitter. They would send Howard and some undetermined picks would come from Houston to Atlanta. And then Atlanta would in turn ship Horford and Teague to Miami. And then Gorzin, Dragic, Anderson, and Whiteside would go to Houston in this 3-team trade. So that's the latest thing that's burning the wires out back there. Now, another thing that had popped up was the idea of them trading even with Philadelphia to get one of their small forwards. There's a lot of stuff going on, but Jeff Teague and Al Horford clearly are at the crux of this. There's also some rumors of Horford going to the Boston Celtics, and the Celtics making a trade there. So we have all types of names that are banting around. I think pretty much the Blake Griffin situation is off the table, it's primarily because of his injuries. But I'm just thinking to myself, for me, when I take a look at the Hawks and I take a look at the way their team is configured, I get that they might have missed their window of opportunity last year where they had 4 All-Stars, where you had an injured Cleveland team and a banged-up Washington team and Toronto team that looked nothing like the team that we see this year in postseason. That was their opportunity, I think, to get to the NBA Finals. And as good as Golden State is playing right now, people forget the series was tied 2-2, and Cleveland had pretty much, really been an even keel with Golden State. So a lot of people think, hey, that was the Hawks' opportunity. They might have lost out. But for me, I think the problem is the Hawks, since I've been watching them, from both this regime and the regime before, have never used the personnel properly. The Hawks are a smaller team. They're a quicker team. I've always said, and you've heard me talk about this on the show, that they should do a much more up-tempo, press and run type of offense to utilize the speed they have with Teague, and even play a lot more with Teague and Schroeder at the same time. What do you think?
Absolutely. That's one thing that the Hawks are known for and that they have going for them is speed. And when you get Schroeder or Teague on the court, and especially if it's at the same time, they're going to push that ball. They're going to push it fast. It's going to be quick. And it is one of their triggers. So that, if you could only get in Coach Bud's ear and pass down some suggestions. But you're right. They don't use personnel accurately, and that is a big point that you're making because there is a lot of speed there. It remains to be seen if that speed will be intact if they keep everybody in place.
Right. It's a lot of speed and a lot of youth. And Al Horford can run the floor as well to fill in the lanes behind the speedsters when Jeff Teague and Schroeder attack the basket and he draw in the defense, and it'll just allow Horford for the easy 2 or Tim Hardaway for the easy kick-out 3 or even Mike Scott to come soar through the sky like he usually do. But going back to the trading, those offers right there will benefit the other teams more than the Hawks. I agree with you on keeping Jeff Teague and Al Horford because you're beefing up the other teams when you think about it. Sure, getting Hassan Whiteside would benefit the Hawks on the defensive end, and it would definitely secure the rebounding problems. But when you send Jeff Teague and team him up with Dwayne Wade, who's playing exceptional this year, and you have Luol Deng, and you're giving them Horford, and Dwayne Wade knows how to alter his roles to fit everybody else's playing styles, that will actually make Miami more of a threat.
Oh, no question. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and why would you make any kind of trade with any team in the East? I'm not trading any of my players to anybody in the East because these are teams that you're going to have to play 4, 5, 6 teams a season. Now, the other thing that has come up with other sports shows, and this is something that I even had blogged about, is Coach Bud wearing too many hats. When they first gave him the title of president of basketball operations, I said to myself, why? It made no sense to me at all why you'd have a guy who was his first year in coaching, and no disrespect to Coach, but I like the guy. But this is a guy that had some challenges off the field. People forget because they kind of blew it over real quick. There's a guy that had a problem with a DUI, okay? A guy that when we go to the game and see him, he looks like at some point the guy might blow a gasket. He looks so stressed when he comes in these press conferences. Why would you give this man the mantle of trying to make this transition, coming out of the whole Danny Ferry situation, and then said we're going to make you, president of basketball operations?
I think my opinion on that, he does have some baggage. And, yes, he does look like he's about to lose it sometimes after those games. But I think what works for Coach Bud in that sense is that his rapport and his relationship with the players. Like I did a one-on-one once with Damari Carroll, and all he could, he talked heavily about his relationship with Coach Bud. So I think he has an impact on the players that maybe they listen to him, or they, it's easier for him to kind of guide them through whatever it is that they need to get done. So that could be one reason why they did that, just off of the rapport that he has with the players. And also, he's not too much older. Coach is in his 40s?
Yep.
So, I think a lot of factors come into play there, but more so just I think his interaction and his ability to relate to the players, or their ability to relate to him.
And I get that, and that's why my point where I just think the guy would be better served, the team would be better served if they would let him concentrate on coaching. The other thing, too, is, Atlanta teams need to start to find their own identity like they did in years past. Am I right?
Right, you're right about that, because one thing about the Atlanta Hawks is it's like they don't have that toughness to, it's like they don't know how to come together and just be tough. Like, they would change identity. They need to, like, when you go to face Golden State, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get 3 shot from everywhere. You're going to get team unity. When you go to play DeMarcus Cousins, you know you're going to get beat up in the post. When you play Andre Drummond, you know you're going to get beat up in the post. When you play the Atlanta Hawks, it's like no team fears the Hawks. And they don't strike fear within anybody else within the NBA, no matter their outstanding records, no matter the standings that they are currently at. Nobody fears the Hawks. They just see the Hawks as, okay, we're going to go ahead and get this win right here because we're going to have the hot hand. It's like they know who's going to come through. It's like Atlanta is one of those teams that star players just turn up on, if that makes sense. They just go through there and just see Atlanta Hawks as, okay, this is a playoff team, but they're not worthy of being a playoff team, so we're going to show them that we're this much better than them. And that kind of lowers the morale of the Atlanta Hawks, which gets these trade talks going, and it actually destroys the team even more.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. Really, to me, what I think that, and this is true with the Falcons as well, and we'll talk about that in our final segment, but I get that you want to pattern yourself after winning teams like San Antonio and in football, New England, but we got to stop getting away from trying to make ourselves a carbon copy in the South of another team. The team that, even though these teams did not win championships, the team that made the Falcons of the late 70s, early 80s, an exciting team to watch is because they say, okay, we're not going to try to imitate the Vikings or the Cowboys or the Raiders or the Steelers, who were the great teams of that era. They came out with a defense called the Grits Blitz, and that's what they did. They brought pressure off of the edge. They would run almost like a version of the 46 defense that the Bears ran, and live or die. Because unfortunately, one year when they were the number 1 seed, they died. They played Dallas, had a lead, ran the blitz, and unfortunately Dallas scored a couple of long touchdown plays on when they beat the blitz. But at the end of the day, they were unafraid to play their brand of their brand of football. And back in the 80s and 90s, I understand that our current CEO says, well, I'm not trying to appeal to the old heads. Well, the reason why the old heads like the old Hawks was because you knew when you played the Hawks, you were going to get 2 things. You were going to get the human highlight film and Dominique Wilkins. You were going to get outstanding guard play with Doc Rivers and Spud Webb. And if things got a little dicey in the paint, you were going to get a little something from the guy that I just saw inducted to the Atlanta Sports Hall of Fame, Mr. Kevin Willis, with that big, broad shoulders and sharp elbows. Right. And so you knew that you were going to be playing a fearsome up-and-down game with when they had to go in the paint, they could do it. So, I mean, that's what I really think the Hawks are missing. I think that if Coach Bud would just turn these guys loose, give Mike Scott some more minutes because he is almost averaging a point a minute, and do a lot more of two-man in that guard situation with Schroeder and Jeff Teague, and then run and press. Give Hardaway more time. Let Korver come in as a sharpshooter. It's just, I don't know. It's real simple to me. Listen, Sytonnia, I know that you have a very, very tight schedule. Tell people how they can find out more about you, websites, social media, the whole stuff.
Absolutely. SytoniaLive.com, and then, of course, on Instagram, Sytonnia Live, on Facebook, Sytonnia, and we also have our Facebook page up, Sytonnia Live, and SportsWireMag.com, and coming real soon to a TV near you. We are packaging up our last few shows and getting ready to launch, so I'm really excited about that, and, of course, I'll keep you guys posted on that as well. Boys,
you're about to get your eyes poked out. Because the lovely Miss Sytonnia is going to bring out, only she does, just a lovely lady, both inside and out. Sytonnia, thank you so much, and I look forward to doing some more halftime and post-game updates.
Yes, I'll see you Friday, and thanks a bunch. I love the show. Y'all keep up the good work, and I'll see you guys later.
Have a blessed one.
Thank you.
You too. Bye.
That was the lovely Miss Sytonnia Live. That's one of my highlights, at the Hawk game, is being able to hang out with her and do some little post-game and halftime, and pretty soon we'll be working on a pregame. So, just great people. Like I said, just as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go away. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show, and we're broadcasting to you right here on Atlanta's Incredible Radio.
Hello, this is Minister Jonathan Simmons. Everybody needs to be encouraged and inspired, and that's why I'm inviting you to join me on the Clarion Call broadcast every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. here on Atlanta's Incredible Radio, WIGO 1570. The show brings you inspiration from the Word of God and information from great guests to help you make it through the week. It's the Clarion Call Show, Wednesdays, 9:30 a.m. here on WIGO. You can also listen on your mobile device with the free TuneIn Radio application. Remember to check us out online at www.clarioncallshow.com.
Guess who's coming to WIGO AM 1570 on Tuesdays? It's Ask Dr. RJ. Is your child acting out in school? Ask Dr. RJ. Are you feeling too much stress on your job? Ask Dr. RJ. It's okay to talk to your friends or even your mom, but you still need that clinical piece. So ask Dr. RJ. Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on WIGO AM 1570.
It's official. The hottest new restaurant and sports grill on the South Side is open for business. Check out the Burger Theory Restaurant, 638 Highway 138, Stockbridge, Georgia, inside the Holiday Inn and Suites. All new. It's got great appetizers, delicious desserts, and mouth-watering signature burgers made for your order. Grab some takeout on the way home or enjoy the beautiful lounge and dining area lined with flat-screen TVs. It's the Burger Theory Restaurant, 638 Highway 138, inside the Holiday Inn, Stockbridge, Georgia.
Ladies and gentlemen, wow. Y'all looking good. God looks good on you. It's not your hair, it's not your clothes.
It's not your hair, it's not your clothes, but it's the Spirit of God that looks good on you. Kenton Jones, God looks good on you. You're listening to the final segment of the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, Minister Jonathan Simmons, and right next to me is the young gun, Mr. Ashton Reynolds. And we thank God for those of you who have tuned in here. We got a little bit more to talk about here. As you know, we like to always kind of conclude our broadcast with a little bit of a community outreach. But before we finish that up, we'll talk a little bit about the NFL draft. Ashton, everybody's talking a lot about what Atlanta needs. In your opinion, what do you think that they should kind of really be focusing on?
Well, I think that it should all start with the offensive line. I mean, this year, Matt Ryan, he's taken a lot of hits this year. He's been hit more than usual. And another place where they need to look at is the defense. The secondary is awesome, but they need to pressure the other quarterbacks more. Because nowadays the defense is winning championships, and the team that gets to the quarterback the most, as you can see with Denver Broncos, that would definitely get you to the Super Bowl. It's a lot of stuff that can get them to the next level because, like I always say, Atlanta, they've been to the NFC Championship. They've had winning seasons where they've only lost 3 games. Now it's time to do what your slogan is and rise up to the Super Bowl and take care of the offensive line, and the defense will definitely do it because they have all the skill positions within the wide receivers. And maybe Matt Ryan needs to get into the weight room so he can get it out to Julio Jones. That'll definitely help out too, so he can open up the field to let Devontae Freeman loose. But the offensive line and the defense and a stronger Matt Ryan will get them to the next level.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, certainly I think that everybody's forgotten that this was a team that started off 5-0.
Right.
And this was a team that really lost probably about another 2 or 3 games they should not have lost. So this was a team that really should have been last year, really 11-5, and had an outside shot to go 12-4. They just really turned the ball over in a place you cannot, which is on the red zone, either your own red zone, the other team's red zone. So this idea, they're talking about, does the team have needs? It does.
Right.
But it's still a situation where the team has to execute. And if you look at a lot of Atlanta's losses, it had nothing to do with offensive line not giving Matt Ryan the time. Had everything to do with Matt Ryan throwing the ball in the coverage, not reading coverage properly. Fumbles where basically people were barely being touched. So that's a situation that has to be handled. Now, as far as who they want to draft, to me, you got a couple of choices there. What I'd like to see, obviously, is for them to bring in some defensive help. There's a lot of rumbling about if he's still available, keeping it down in the Clemson bailiwick and going with Shaq Lawson, the powerful defensive end, and then bring him in to join Grady Jarrett and the defensive tackle there, and also joining Vic Beasley on that end.
Right.
And a lot of people are talking about Vic Beasley is going to be a guy that's going to really pop loose next year. We torn labrum, still have 4 sacks. And if you think about it, in those last 4 or 5 games of the season, he started to look like what we thought we were going to get when we drafted him in the number 6 slot.
Oh, most definitely. And another thing that they need to do is go ahead and seal the deal with William Moore. I heard that he was released, or he was
released. Yep.
Yeah, they need to get him back because keeping the defense together is one thing that's going to help them get over that edge. Because as you can see, the great defenses of Seattle and Denver and even Carolina, they were built and stuck together. And Atlanta is one team that is known for either getting rid of their best players or somehow they leave the team, they go on and contribute to the advancement of other teams. So they should just keep their teams together and build within the draft because, like you said, Vic Beasley was looking awesome. He was getting to Cam Newton. He was getting to everybody within the last couple of games. But like you said, those minor mistakes, they definitely played a big role, especially within Matt Ryan's decision-making. So got to tune those things up.
Well, I tell you, man, we look forward to the Falcons kind of, not overdoing it. I think, again, they're in a situation where they might be able to make just a few minor changes and then find themselves in a position where they can really make a couple of key acquisitions and really turn them into a team that, like I said, again, I know everybody's better this year, but this is a team that really could have they could have done something here. So, you got some potential out there. You got some guys coming from small schools, like a guy out of Northern Iowa, DeAndre Hall at the cornerback position.
Right.
There's a guy that could possibly pick up and do some work. There's a guy by the name of Victor Ochi out of outside linebacker out of Stony Brook that also might be a guy they can pick up, late in the draft. And for me, one guy I'd like to see them really look after maybe in the second round, if he's still available, is a guy that won the Outland Trophy, offensive guard Joshua Garnett. He was a big, quick guard that was able to open up all those holes for Christian McCaffrey. Guy's about 6'5", 325 pounds, got great feet. So those are the kind of guys we're going to look at. Well, speaking of guys who have done greatness, as I mentioned to you, I had a chance to go out to Atlanta Sports Hall of Fame and check them out. And one of the guys that was able to speak with us was a guy that was part of an outstanding team here back in 1965.
Wow.
Played for Decatur High School, went 16-0, and then played 13 with the Cleveland Browns. So I'm going to let you hear a little bit of my interview with Clarence Scott, recently inducted into Atlanta Sports Hall of Fame.
Everybody, Mr. Jonathan Simmons here, and I'm with a young man here that applied his trade 1965. Decatur, where it's greater, won a state championship. Clarence Scott, Hall of Famer now. How's it feel?
It's wonderful. It's what I dreamed of. I wanted to always make a great impact on my life and on my family and my community. I wanted to do something to make them proud, and I think I've done that, and I'm just glad to be in this position.
I tell you, I see family around. I see guys giving you a lot of well wishes, so we can see that there's a lot of love for you here tonight.
Yes, I try to treat people as I would like to be treated. And, I'm just that kind of person, and I want the world to be the same.
You've done a good job. Later went on to Kansas State, played for the Wildcats. Now, back then, you guys still played in the Big 8, is that right?
Yes, it was the Big 8 when I went to Kansas State. My first time on an airplane was flying from Hartsfield out to Kansas City to be recruited by K-State Wildcats. In fact, some people from...
And we'll let you hear more of that in upcoming broadcasts. Also, I'll have the video up on that so you can take a look. But again, that was Clarence Scott. I also got a chance to interview Chipper Jones, legendary baseball player here for the Atlanta Braves, Kevin Willis, who played a total of 23 years in the NBA, and really just a great night. Well, speaking of great nights, let's close out here with the guy that has his own nonprofit, our own Ashton with the Blessed Coast. Tell us what's going on, man.
Oh, well, within Blessed Coast, for those who don't know, what we do is use all forms of entertainment to put out the word of God as well as spread positivity. And this has been a great 2 weeks. Actually, I've partnered up with the East Atlanta Saints, and we have a great youth football thing that's going on August 12th. We want everybody to come out. You can look up East Atlanta Saints on Facebook, Twitter, all over social media. We're definitely going to get out there, and we're going to make some things happen. Also, we have I will be on TV near you as well. It's actually in the talks and things like that. There's just a lot of great things going on, and to God be all the glory for everything that's been going on.
How can people reach you, website and social media?
You can reach me on my website, because on my website it has all the access to me on all social media sites, get all the music and other information. It's www.blessedcoast.com, and we spell it BLESSEDKOAST.
All right, everybody, before I leave, the minister always wants to make sure that your soul is right. If you don't know Jesus Christ, your personal Savior, I implore you, please, man, please, sir, get to know him. Nobody loves you like Jesus, not your mom, not your auntie, not grandmama and them. Nobody loves you like him, and he's the only way by which you can enter the kingdom of heaven. So if you don't know him, get to know him today. Jesus is the answer to the ills of this world, and he'll make you better than you ever could have imagined. Well, on behalf of everybody here at WIGO, we appreciate our lovely board operator, Miss Erica, Larry, our general manager, and Kevin Buchanan, our program director. On behalf of everybody there in my own family, we say as we do each week, God bless you and good night.
I'm straight, I got faith, I can't complain no more. I've been blessed, I'm thankful, no stress, I'm able to dress, so fresh, let's go. It's on tonight, my money right, big city lights, yes I'm alright. I'm rolling slow, we fall deep and we sitting low. Do you wanna go? I'm gonna be going for sure.
It's going down, come on and hit the floor. Just do your two-step and let everybody know that you're ready for, everything's fine. Tell the DJ press rewind. Got God on my mind, I'm gonna praise him every time. I'm ready for.
I'm me and I'm free. I got the victory, no defeat. God's love so sweet. So to the beat, I'm moving my feet. It's on tonight, my money right, big city lights, yes I'm alright. I'm rolling slow, we fall deep and we sitting low. Do you wanna go? I'm gonna be going for sure.